Hello and welcome to this part 3 of the series on Appreciative Leadership or Liderazgo Apreciativo. Today I want to build on the frameworks that were presented in the first 2 sessions and the notion of how you go about appreciative leadership in an organization. But today, as said, building on those 2, it's more around what does this mean for you from a personal perspective? And I built on what I have discovered myself in the years that I worked as a manager, as an executive, and actually eventually as a CEO, to share with you some of the practices that I discovered were extremely important if you want to deal with work from an appreciative leadership perspective. So let me first start by sharing with you my idea what it is that we really are about. And this is a definition that I guess I've constructed based on work of others as well. But leaders and coaches, in my view, hold the space, offering the opportunity to review our basic imprint, if you wish, our calling, and to become who we truly are. I think that is to me one of the essences of appreciative leadership. It's to appreciate what is there, but not only from the perspective of the head, but more from who we are as a whole. So including our heart, and as I speak here, our calling. Some people may even talk about what it is that our mission is, our purpose is. So this is the core of how you work with people and how you look at the situation. And what you do is you create and hold the space for people to become really who they are, the best version of themselves, if you wish. And I have found that there are a number of what I call practices, ways of working, ways of being, things that you need to do and that will help you to become this appreciative leader that many of us actually aspire to be. And first of all, it's the practice of presence. The presence meaning that you are open-minded to what is, not what you think that should be there, not really what is there or should be there from within a framework that was given by our governments, the rules and regulations we decided based on the governance for our organizations. Although please do understand that I do respect the rules and regulations, but often to be able to understand how you can work with them in a way that they will not hinder but will facilitate. So the practice of presence means that there is an open mind to whatever is there and that you learn to appreciate that. Doesn't mean that you have to like it, but what is there, and how can you work with it? And as said, it requires an open mind. Try and step away from what you feel is right or wrong, and of course honor your own values, but as said, keep an open mind also for what other things and what others bring to the table. The second practice is the practice of interconnectedness in relationship. I'm a big fan of the work of Ken Gergen, who says we are relational beings and everything is interrelational. So I think that leaders, and particularly appreciative leaders, are profoundly connected to the bigger whole, the community, the world, but of course to their own organization, to their local communities, to whatever is in their direct and indirect environment. So try to practice, and practice I mean is really, the word practice means you do things. Try to connect to this outside world, and if you're lucky you may also connect to the inside world and have look at the relationship with yourself, but particularly, as said, with others. The practice of humility. I think we live in a world, as I shared in one of the previous presentations, that is showing an incredible speed of development, and it's even accelerating. So an incredible speed of development and change. And there is no way that any one of us can know everything there is to know. We have a little piece of the puzzle of this complex world and this complex life. And to practice humility means that we acknowledge that we don't know. But appreciative leadership also says, collectively, we do. This is why I also said in one of the earlier presentations, it is the new strength of organizations is using the collective intelligence that is there. So together we know, but as an individual, we may be limited in what we know. And then there's the practice of discipline and commitment. When you want to become an appreciative leader, or you want to become a leader that is accountable, and you want actually your people to be held accountable, it is really, I would say, of essence that you take serious what it is that you're doing, what is really important for you in your life, and that you go for it. And to me, this materializes in a way in how I start my days. One of the disciplines I have during my work days is that I get up, by the way, almost always early, so also in the weekends. But during the work days, I get up at 6:15, I brush my teeth, I make a cup of tea, and then I do my exercises. I do my physical exercises, some yoga, and then I meditate. I meditate for half an hour to an hour every day, just to make sure that I become empty. That's my objective anyways of my meditation, to become empty, to become silent, so that whatever happens in the unfolding or during the unfolding of the day can be seen from this practice of presence, from this practice of interconnectedness, from this practice of humility. But I need to train myself. This is not something that comes by itself. So that's why I mentioned the practice of discipline, and whether you have something else that you do, or there is another way you show your commitment, but to show it and to do it, and to have either rituals or exercises or moments of silence during the day, that is really open. There is not one way that is the right way, but doing it and having the discipline to take serious what it is that is important for you, and then go for it. And then my face may be partially over it, but I think it is a very important practice. It's the practice of courage. That when you start to do and live the above, it means that you have to, as they say in English, put your money where your mouth is. It also means that sometimes you have to be almost radical or revolutionary in the fact that if you want the change, the transformational change that we see in our world to happen, you have to be courageous. You have to show the courage to take steps that will be leading you to the uncertain, that will make that you have to let go of the control, and that you step in the world of facilitation, of not knowing, and just training yourself to trust life, to be confident, and be aware. Just be aware and nothing else, and accept what comes, and as you take and make your decisions, either as a collective or by yourself. So then we have some more practices that I discovered is the practice of integrity, authenticity. So I mentioned before in the second slide that it's really about the journey. It's really about the journey of discovering who you are. And integrity means that you continue that search, at least that's what it means to me, of who you really are and how you can serve those entrusted to you. And integrity, as said, means that you always have that in mind, whereby you really think of how you can find this you in you and how to serve others entrusted to you, as said. So that's not compromising, or trying at least to avoid compromising it with the rules and regulations that maybe the outside world pushes on you. It is about what this life and this world calls you to do, what this leadership calls you to do. And then there is the practice of appreciation. It links very much to the practice of presence, but it goes maybe even one step further. The practice of presence is really accepting everything there is in the outside world, whether it's the weather, whether it's the market circumstances, whether that's COVID-19 or not. But then if you take it one step further, it is looking at the practice of appreciation and really trying to see what it is that is contributed by others, either directly or indirectly. You can learn a lot. You can appreciate, I would say, even what people who you don't like, who you do not agree with, bring to the table, and try to understand what it is and try to make meaning of whatever it is they bring. And I would say particularly in this part of making meaning is where you show your appreciation. And then let me first go to the practice of transparency. Transparency to me means that you are open in what it is that motivates you. Why do you do this? Why is this important to you? Why is, for example, appreciative leadership important to me? I guess it is because I believe it will help to bring about a better world for those that I love, for my children, for my grandchildren, for those who I work with. So being honest about that, and sometimes also then being honest or transparent, as the word says, transparent about why you don't do certain things and say, well, I'm very sorry, but I don't want to do this work. I cannot accept this work because it is not aligned with my motivation, with my purpose, with my inspiration, with what I see as the soul of my leadership. And then, as I mentioned, the practice of discipline earlier in the previous slide, there is also the practice of reflection and being silent. To me, it is one of the areas that I guess I'm still discovering. I'm really trying to understand how silence is able to help me in my work to become, or in my ambition to become, a better leader. And I guess what happens in the silence is that I can ask the questions that you see here. What have I learned today? What was the gift of today? And I can, of course, during the day, it doesn't have to be at the end of the day, but really what is it that wants to be disclosed once I'm capable of being silent? And silence is indeed, it's sometimes people find silence extremely uncomfortable. If you sit with somebody and say, well, let's be silent for a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes or maybe even longer, a lot of people, unless you give a framework of meditation, find that extremely difficult. However, I think it's a true gift if you can practice reflection and silence. By the way, very interesting to see that a study done, I think by IBM already some 10 years ago, showed that reflection is going to be one of the most important skills of managers in the 21st century. So those are the practices that I try to practice, and maybe you have others and more. I would be very happy to learn if there are others that you see. As I said, the word practice means doing, and trying to do those have at least helped me to get closer to this ambition of being a successful, appreciative leader. One of the other frameworks that I find helpful is the framework of the United Nations World Food Programme. I'm not going to spend too much time, but they try to take us to the next level of what we can do and what our ambitions are within our organization. So you can have your own ambitions, of course, for your organization, be it a school, be it a for-profit institution, be it government, be it whatever. However, sometimes it might help to get people become more engaged if you have some very practical elements that they can focus on, like the 17 SDGs. I see these days more and more that people take one or two of those SDGs on to get an additional focus on what it is they want to achieve as a collective and what they want to contribute to a better world. And I mentioned the word engagement. A recent study, actually I learned about it today, which is the 19th of November 2020, that one of the big issues for organizations is that right now about 80% of the employees, showed a survey in the US, are not feeling engaged with the organization they work for. I think that's a dramatic and very sad figure. And I know that my ambition would be, what would happen? What would our world look like if we could actually turn that at least around? So 80% of the people would be engaged. And I think these objectives, these strategic development goals, or sustainable development goals, as they're officially called, might really help in that respect. And then to close off this session on appreciative leadership, it is, as I said at the beginning, it's very much to do with how you, as a leader, develop yourself. So, as the title says, autoliderazgo, it is about self-leadership. It's not leadership only towards the outside world, how you facilitate and work with people, but it's really about trying to understand how you are accountable to yourself, how you are accountable to yourself, and from that perspective then try to do things for others. So it is. Sometimes I take the essential part. A lot of people these days are becoming more and more closer, and I saw a nice presentation of Peter Koenig, a Swiss expert when it comes to money. He says in the end it really boils down to our understanding of the fact that you can only love another when you love yourself. And see and be aware of yourself and what it is that you bring as a gift, what it is that you want to learn, what it is that your soul calls you to do. And only when you do that, when you connect to the love for yourself, you'll find, as it says here as well in the last item, you'll find the creativity, the positive force that brings, and to see what balance it is that you'll find within yourself to also work and cooperate in this world that requires us to do all sorts of everything which you may not like, and which may not even be close to who you really are. But getting back to that, getting back to this connection to yourself as a leader, this self-awareness is so extremely important. And I think that the points you see here tell us about what it brings if you are creative, that you can become the better version of yourselves and expand your views. And I'm very happy that Miriam put this beautiful picture of her, because to me that sort of illustrates, it gives me a feeling of who we are, the force we have, the creativity that is within us, and I would say our balance that we can find if we take ourselves serious, if we become aware of who we are, not only for ourselves, but for our place in the world. With that, I thank you for your attention. I wish you fun, joy, and success in your journey of learning about appreciative leadership. Maybe you aspire to become one. Maybe you say, well, this is nice, but not for me. Whatever it is that you decide, follow your heart, follow your soul, listen to your calling, and try to bring your specific gift to this world. With that, I thank you for your attention, and as said, wish you success.